Hey friends, it's Haley, and I have two great loves in my life, Taylor Swift and books, and Will Herondale. Okay, so I have three great loves of my life. But in any case, I've been a Taylor Swift fan almost as long as I've been a reader, since I was like 6 years old, and Teardrops on My Guitar came on country radio, and I was obsessed with it. And I made my mom buy me her CD and listen to it over and over and over again. So I'm really excited to be bringing to you today the Evermore Book Tag. Now, the Evermore Book Tag was originally done by Enchanted Reader, and I'll link her video down in the description below. But I'm really excited to do this tag. It's going to be super fun. It's something that I've been looking forward to for a while. So without further ado, let's get started. So the first prompt is Willow, and that is a book you think is a masterpiece. And for this one, I am going to go with Clockwork Princess by Cassandra Clare. Now, this is one of my favorite books of all time. I've raved about it to you before, but it is such a fantastic ending to a series. It wraps up the character arcs so beautifully, I felt, and still gave room for more exploration for that world in the future, like we're getting with the Last Hour series. So I'm super excited to get to that and get back to my characters that I loved so much in the Infernal Devices. But Clockwork Princess is a masterpiece in my opinion. Next up is Champagne Problems, a book that caught you off guard. And for this one, I'm going to have to go with The Wicked King by Holly Black. Now, that was a book that had a twist like every 5 pages. And eventually I just gave up on guessing what was going to happen next because I was so wrong every time I tried to. It was one of my favorite reads of 2020. I absolutely loved it, and it caught me off guard how much I loved it because I wasn't as big a fan of The Cruel Prince as I expected to be, but then The Wicked King really, really brought that series up for me. And yeah, it was so fast-paced, and the twists were so surprising that I just got caught off guard every time. So, The Wicked King for that one. Next up is Gold Rush, and that is a book with a gold cover. And for this one, I'm going to go with Capturing the Devil by Carrie Maniscalco. Now, this is the fourth and final book, I believe, in the Stalking Jack the Ripper series by Carrie Maniscalco. I have yet to read it, but it's on my TBR. It's high on my TBR. I'm hoping to get to it soon. It seems like something that's going to be right up my alley. Anything set in Victorian London and with serial killers is like bound to be something I enjoy, so I'm really excited for this series. 'Tis the Damn Season, a winter/Christmas book. And for this, I'm going to go with a book I just read, Shadow and Bone by Leigh Bardugo. Now, it's not necessarily like a Christmassy book, but it is a wintry book. Much of the main plot takes place during winter, and the setting, in my head, I visualize it as snowy all the time. I know that's a myth about like Eastern Europe and Russia, that it's always snowy. I know it's not, but in my head, that's what it is. So I sort of just feel like this is very much a winter read for me. So yeah, Shadow and Bone for that one. For Tolerate It, a problematic book. Now I don't know that I've read a lot of problematic books that I've know about, but the one that I've heard the most complaints about is probably Carve the Mark by Veronica Roth. I read that in high school, and I did understand where some people were upset with it. There was sort of an implication of like the dark-skinned like group of people were the more barbaric of the two civilizations presented in that book. And there's also some discussion about the representation of chronic illness. That's a book that I've read that I believe can be considered problematic. Nobody, No Crime, and this is a murder/mystery book. And for this one, I'm going to have to go with Truly Devious by Maureen Johnson. Now, I have the book, but it's being used as my tripod right now, so I'm not going to get it out for you. But it's set in an elite boarding school, and their founder had his wife and daughter kidnapped shortly after the school opened. And there's a murderer sort of on the loose in the present day, and it's supposed to be very good. I've heard the series is really great. I know the 4th book is coming out this year. I have to double check on when exactly that is, but I think it's like February or March. So I'm super excited about that. Can't wait to get to that. So that's it for Nobody, No Crime. Happiness is a book about hope. And for that, I think I'm going to have to go with Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell. Now, this book gave me a lot of hope because I relate to the protagonist a lot. And I felt very much a homebody, very much someone who's comfortable by myself. And this book gave me hope that I could branch out and could still be myself, but maybe make some of the friendships that I'd been hoping to make like my whole life, and that I could accomplish the things that I'd hoped to accomplish and still be me, but maybe broadened my horizons a little bit. And this book gave me a lot of hope, so that represents hope for me. So I'm going to go with Fangirl for this one. For Dorothea, a book-to-movie adaptation. And for this one, I'm going to go with a book-to-movie adaptation that I just watched the other day, which is the 2005 version of Pride and Prejudice. Now, this is one of my favorite movies of all time. I absolutely love Keira Knightley in it. I think she's fantastic as Elizabeth Bennet. Pride and Prejudice is one of my favorite books I've ever read. I absolutely love it. And this movie is fantastic. I also love the 1995 miniseries with Colin Firth. I think that's fantastic as well. But I first watched the 2005 version, so that's always going to have a special place in my heart. So, yeah, 2005's Pride and Prejudice for that one. Coney Island is a book that brings back memories, and for this one, I'm going to go with Percy Jackson and the Olympians, The Lightning Thief. Now, I remember first reading this book, first experiencing these characters, first getting to know this world, and I just remember being in love from like the very first page. I could not put it down. My friend who recommended it to me was insistent I would love it, and I didn't believe her, and then I read it and was like, oh my god, you're absolutely right, this is fantastic. So I remember being 9 years old and reading those books under my desk in school and getting them taken away because I was so intrigued by the story that I couldn't put it down. And so Percy Jackson, all the Percy Jackson books really bring back memories for me. Navy, a book you can't help but love, and that's like a guilty pleasure read. And for this, I'm going to have to go with the Selection series by Kira Cass. These books are like candy. You consume them so quickly, and they're so ridiculous and a little bit trashy, but they're so wonderful to read. They're so much fun, and I got through the last one, the one, in about 6 hours. I think I read that one. So I absolutely can't help but love the series, even though I know it has very flawed characters and is obviously not the most deep or intellectual of reads. I still really enjoy it. For Cowboy Like Me is a book you didn't expect to love, but did. And for this one, I'm going to go with Pride and Prejudice. Now, I read it when I was 14. I was my freshman year of high school, and I didn't read it for class. I read it because I loved the Lizzie Bennet Diaries, which, if you didn't know, is a retelling of Pride and Prejudice in video blog form. It's available for free on YouTube. I'll probably link it in the description. But it is fantastic, and it is one of my favorite shows. It's not even a show, but it's one of my favorite pieces of media I've consumed ever. It's so good and so funny and so deep, and honestly I think it's deeper than the actual book itself because it adds depth to characters that are sort of one-dimensional in the book. But so I wanted to know what the source material was better, so I read Pride and Prejudice and was not expecting to love it as much as I did, and I really, really did. I really enjoyed the quick-wittedness of Lizzie. I enjoyed all the characters. I enjoyed the arc of the story. I just really enjoyed it and thought that the writing was really good, even though it was so much older than a lot of things I'd read before. I really enjoyed it. It was my first sort of Regency era read, and I really enjoyed it. So for Cowboy Like Me, Pride and Prejudice. Long Story Short, a short book under 300 words. This I'm going to go with Looking for Alaska by John Green. This one clocks in at a little over 200 pages, and I really enjoy this one. I remember I read it when I was, I think, 13. I'm not sure if I would love it as much now, but I really enjoyed it when I was that age, and I'm a really big fan of John Green's writing and his writing style and his characters, so Looking for Alaska. Marjorie is a biography, and for this I'm going to go with Becoming by Michelle Obama. Now, I have this book, but again, it's being used as my tripod, so I'm not going to show it to you. I'm probably just going to put a picture in. But this is a book I've been dying to read. I'm really inspired by Michelle Obama. I think she's sort of a really fascinating person who's has sort of a really difficult job in the spotlight, and I feel like has handled it with so much grace, and I just really like her, so I'm really excited to finally read that. Foreclosure is a favorite last book in a series, and for this I'm going to have to go with The Last Olympian by Rick Riordan. This is my favorite conclusion to a series besides Clockwork Princess, but I already talked about that one, so I don't want to use that one again. Last Olympian is one of my favorite finales ever. I love it so much. It wraps up this. It's like so exciting and so action-packed and feels so much like the other books, but it still wraps up the characters' arcs and stuff so well. So, The Last Olympian. Finally, Evermore, a book that was painful to get through. Now, I don't know if this means painful because it hurt me or painful because it was bad, but I'm gonna go with painful because it was bad. And for this one, I'm gonna go with the one YA book series I really disliked, and that was The Maze Runner. And I can't believe I put myself through 2 of these, but I did. And really just to say that I did, and it was not worth it. So, Maze Runner. And I'm actually gonna add 2 of my own questions for the bonus tracks on Evermore. So for Right Where You Left Me, I'm gonna say that's a book that you feel like you could pick up anytime and go right back into it. For that is The Lightning Thief for me. I could go into that anytime. Those books are also like candy to me, just like more substantial, richer candy, I guess you could say. But I absolutely love them. I could go into any one of them straight from the beginning and just be completely enveloped in the story. I love the Percy Jackson series. It's one of my favorite series, and I think it's one of the best written series. Definitely the best middle grade series I've ever read, but one of the best series I've ever read in my life. And I feel like Rick Riordan did such a good job of making you want to go back into that world. So Percy Jackson for that one. And for It's Time to Go, how about a book that you felt could have been shorter? And for me, this is Queen of Air and Darkness by Cassandra Clare. It was a really great book, and it set up a lot of really great things for the next series, but I felt that it could have been a little shorter. There was some unnecessary stuff that didn't pay off for me, so I feel like you could have shaved about 100 pages out of that one. So it's Queen of Air and Darkness for me, by Cassandra Clare. And that is it. That is all I have for you guys today. Please like, comment, and subscribe down below. It really does help me out. And stay tuned for a new video from me, hopefully tomorrow or the next day. I'm hoping to have something new and exciting up for you. I'm not going to tell you what it is in case it doesn't pan out, but if you look at my Twitter, you might know something about what I'm talking about. But anyway, stay tuned for that, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!